Okay, in this animation, I'm going to show you how to use the motion guide with multiple letters. So I'm going to start off with my text, and I'll leave it at impact. I think that for this tutorial it'll look the best. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in CSUF, and I'll go ahead and center this, both in the vertical and the horizontal. Get the right one. And then I want to add a motion guide on top here. So I'm going to right click and slide down to add a classic guide. The idea here is that I'm going to animate these letters individually. So I'm going to break them apart, Command B. And then I want to distribute them, Command Shift D. And that puts them into their own layers within the motion guide. Now I'm not going to make the movie just yet. I want to create my own custom line or stroke in Adobe Illustrator. So let's go over there. I'm going to pay attention to the size of my document here. It's 550 by 400. So I'll go into Illustrator and I'm going to create a brand new file. And I'll leave it for web, and I'm making it the same size, 550 by 400. And it just happens to be the setup that I had from the last time I was working in Illustrator, so you may have to manually type in your artwork. Okay, so I'm going to start off by creating a oval, an ellipse. I'm going to hold the Shift key down and drag this down. I don't need the stroke, rather the fill, so I'm going to get rid of the fill. And I'm going to do a Command Y so I can see the points. So here you can see the points if they're selected. There we go. With the direct selection tool, sub-selection, direct selection tool, they're one and the same. Okay, so now I'm going to add some anchor points in here because I want to make a kind of a little wave, and that's what my animation is going to do. So in order to make the wave as precise as I can, I'm going to go to the Object drop-down menu, slide down to my path, and I'm going to select Add Anchor Points. And I'm interested in this piece right in here. So I'll go ahead and, with the direct selection tool, I'm going to click on that first point, copy it, and just paste it and let it end up wherever it shows up. So I'll just move it here out of the way. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the rotation tool. I'm going to click on this point right in here. I'm going to rotate that around, hold the Shift key down and the Option key down to make a copy. And then I'm going to select the 2 points here in between. I'm doing an A to select the 2 points. I'm going to do Command J for join. That joins them together. And you can tell they're joined together because I click on this point. This one's also selected. So I want to flip that around again. So I'll do another rotation, or do C, or rather R for rotation. And we'll click on that point again and rotate, Shift and Option. I'm holding the Control key to, rather the Command key, so I can select those 2 points. Command J. Hold the Command key again, select those. I'm going to do an R for rotate. Click on this point, drag it around, hold the Shift and Option key down, make a selection with the Command key, and then do another Command J for join. So all of these are joined as one single stroke. Okay, so now I want them to end up on a straight line. So I think what I'll do is I'll cut off these right in here, select those points. Let me get the direct selection tool, and I'm going to delete these here. I want to keep this one in here that's horizontal. These two are part of the curve. Get rid of those. And I'll get rid of these over here. So I've got the horizontal lines. I'll grab my pen tool and I'm going to extend the line over here. Hold the Shift key down so that it's straight. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. I really don't need to do both sides, but while I've got it here, I might as well set it up so I can have some options. Again, I'm going to grab the pen tool, click on that point there, hold the Shift key down, and drag this out over here. Okay, so this is going to be the stroke that I'm going to bring into Animate. And if I want it to flip down on the bottom, I can rotate the whole stroke. Right now it's going to go up and down, up and down. That's fine by me. I'll go ahead and select the whole thing. Do a Command C for copy. And we're going to go back to Animate. Now I'm going to click on my guide layer, and I'm going to do a Command V for paste. And I want to apply all the Adobe recommended formats. Hit OK, and it drops in my stroke. It looks pretty decent as a, let me center that. It came in as a group. That's why it's got the box around it. I'm not going to worry about unpacking it just yet. I'd rather get my animation set. So either, let's lock the guide here so we don't accidentally select it. Either click and drag around the letters, or click, hold the shift key down, click again on the top letter, and then you can select the letters that way. Or you can just click on one of the letters, don't let go, drag straight down, and you've got them all selected. So that's the idea, just kind of a click and drag straight down, and you'll have them all selected. Now we're ready to do an animation, so we'll go to the Insert drop-down menu. It's got to be a classic tween because it's already associated with the motion guide. And we'll go ahead and allow it to create this, convert these guys into symbols, as well as set the timeline for an animation. I'm going to let this animation run for 2 seconds, so I'm going to go to frame 60, click straight down. I'm going to give myself an F6. I want to see the guide, so over here I'm going to give myself an F5, so that way I can see it. I'm going to place this in the very last animation. I'm going to click and drag my letters, and I'm going to put them over here on the end. And it looks like I want my stroke to be off camera, so let me, well, I'll just go ahead and move it over here for now. I'll just leave it like that. Leave those there. Then I'm going to go back to the very first part of the animation, and I'll select this and move it over here off to the side, just like that. Okay, so what I need to do now is I need to stretch these strokes out a little bit so that they can handle the animation. But it's still in a group. Let me unlock that. So it might be easier for me to go inside the group before I stretch it out. So I'm double clicking on that group. And now I'm going to grab my direct selection tool, or sub-selection tool. And I'm going to click on that last point, and I'm just going to, with my cursor keys, move it way further out than I need it. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to move this over. Now this is still inside a group. That's why it's not affecting any part of the animation. So now I'm going to go back to my primary selection tool, double click anywhere on the stage or off the canvas here. And now when I break this apart, this is going to snap to the stroke. So I'm going to make sure that's unlocked. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to do a Command B. And now I can grab these guys and get them to line up to the strokes. I may have to do them individually, so let me zoom in here. Let's see what happens if I try to do them all at the same time. I'm just using the cursor key. Oh, that worked. I saw them snap because I did the cursor straight down, shift straight down, but it did a little slight diagonal, and that let me know that it snapped. At least I think it did. And then I got to go to the back end over here and do the same thing over here. So I'll select all of these, and with the cursor key and the shift key down, I'm just going straight down. I think that's it. Now let me do a Command 2 and 1. It may not be hooked up just yet. I'll check and find out here. Oh, there it is. It took. So that's great. That's what I wanted to do. So let's see what that looks like. But before we do that, let's go back to the very first frame. And we're going to go to our code snippets. And we're going to add the centering and the key lines so we can see the animation a little bit better. Close that off. And it's in a loop right now, so we'll see it kind of come in and then go straight out. Okay, so that's the motion guide in action. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a small variation to the animation, but it'll probably be better just to start a new movie. I'm going to be using all the same parts, and it's not going to be a complicated thing to do. It's just kind of tricky, and so it could make it interesting. So that's in the next movie.